And that's it.
and that's the show.
Thank you so much for listening and watching to Catt and Kristen, episode 6.
Ciao meow for now, guys.
Bye-bye now. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Goodbye now. Goodbye now. Thank you.
Are they still here?
Are they still watching
gone?
us? Do they want us now?
Do they want us? Are we still here? That's it. It's my favorite part of Toy Story. I think it's 3, like the end scene. Have you ever watched the end credit scene with Barbie? God, yeah, it's the best thing. So hi, my name is Kristen.
And my name is Tomcat.
And together we make up Catt and Kristen. So
I think of all entrances, that
was it.
That was it. Of all intros we've ever done, that was just too delicious for words.
See, at least Mary totally got it. Barbie Toy Story reference. She got it. I like it. I like that you're on track with me here.
Oh, my heavens to Betsy.
What's up, guys? How has your week been? Hope that your Halloween was good.
Yes, I hope your Halloween was as delicious as y'all are.
Hasn't this been like the longest week? Do you feel like it's been? I feel like it's been
It's
like
Monday.
A long time.
It's Monday.
It's been a long time since we recorded. Like since Halloween, it
Yeah,
feels like a long
like
time. And it's been like 5 days.
It's been only 5 days.
Oh,
that's how much we miss each other. That's how much we miss each other.
It's true. I do miss you totally when we're not
absolutely.
together.
When we're not together, it's like, you know.
No, this is the best. It's weird thinking that there was a time in which I didn't see you every week now.
Right?
Isn't that bizarre?
It's so weird.
It's a little weird. It's a little weird now.
It's amazing when you finally realize how close you are in proximity to a person.
Yeah. It's, it's remarkable.
It is remarkable.
John says, still waiting for Catt and Kristen, the motion
picture.
It's in the talks.
It's
in
the
works.
Talks.
It's in the works. Oh my gosh. All right. So, it's from Toy Story 2. I always mess up if it's from Toy Story 2 or Toy Story 3 because Barbie, I think, is in both.
She is in both.
She is in both, I think. Yeah. So I always
They're both in both, Barbie and Ken.
Yeah, Barbie and Ken.
Speaking of 2 boring bowls of porridge.
Yes. Speaking of people that have been nicknamed Ghost before.
We, as 2 very white individuals, are here to talk about Blackface in the cosplay community.
Yes. So we just want to start this off by saying we recognize that we are not a diverse panel.
We are not a diverse panel, unfortunately.
We
do apologize for that.
Yeah, in the future when we do talk about these sorts of things, it would be amazing to have like more diverse,
a more
another
diversified
person
voice.
Here, a more diversified voice. So we can only speak to our experience.
Exactly. We can only speak based off of what we've seen and what we've learned and know through the art of theater.
Yes. Yeah.
To those that don't know, years and years and years ago, minstrel shows used to be a big thing.
Very big thing.
Which was, it played in the same vein as vaudeville, where white actors would put on incredibly dark makeup and leave only like large white lips and just incredibly offensive by today's standards. But years ago, it was completely and totally fine to do that.
Because they also did not want to hire
Because they didn't want to hire black actors.
They wanted to, it was done both so that they didn't have to hire black actors and so that they could mimic what they perceive to be black culture.
Exactly.
Black stereotypes.
And I mean, we can go into the list of things that white people have taken not so lovingly from the black community, like music and body moves and dance and all this and that. But we're going to specifically focus on the cosplay community.
And costumes in general.
Because Halloween was just recently.
Yes, and this is a conversation that comes up every single Halloween.
Every single Halloween. You can't you can't get away with it. And you know something? I'm glad people can't get away with it because people need to be held accountable for the stupidity that they possess.
Definitely.
And you know, I recently saw on the Daily Show with Trevor Noah, Roy Wood Jr., who I was lovingly about to call Roy Orbison.
Yes, yeah.
The dark glasses and everything.
Yeah.
He had been talking about what it means to go to these Halloween parties in blackface. And some people do it to cause a stir and to make a scene and to do this, that, and the third.
To poke at people.
Exactly. To poke the bear. To poke the bear.
Exactly.
And I do love that expression because it's like, if you poke a bear hard enough, bad things are going to happen. I should know I am one.
There it is. And I'd like to take that moment to say the cat asked, wait, Tom, are you telling me you're not an independent black woman who don't need no man?
Okay. from the heart, as much as I love that expression, and I mean, yes, there are times when I use the mannerisms of a sassy black woman. It is a bit of a stereotype that sort of falls in line with the culture that we're living in right now.
Yeah.
And yes, I am a independent woman who doesn't need no man.
Exactly.
But I feel like when it comes to cosplay specifically, there's like these blurred, I don't want to use the term blurred lines, especially after that darling, charming song.
Oh my God. Remember when that song came out? Oh, what a time. What a time.
What a time to be alive.
Oh.
But I say this with love. If you are a cosplayer and your intention is to cosplay as a black character, do not.
Don't do it.
There's no need to darken your skin tone.
And I've literally never seen in my life and maybe other people have, and I still think it's wrong. I've never seen a single black cosplayer that I know ever put on white face. You know, like that's just, it's dumb. And there's nothing about cosplay that warrants that happening. It's not right to try to darken your skin to somebody to just match a character. It's not worth it. It's so offensive and has such a historical offense. It's just not, it's hard because I'm like speaking slower than I normally would because we're
passionate about this subject and we're treading on some very, very touchy water.
Absolutely. Because there have been times where I have seen cosplayers whom I really adore. I've seen cosplayers who I really adore change their skin color to look a little bit more oriental, to look a little bit more like, there are a lot of missteps that happen, and so it's worth talking about because it is still happening.
Mm-hmm.
You know, putting on a ridiculous amount of bronzer to make your skin look tanner, to look like a character like that. It's just not, unless we're talking about a fictional race,
like Avatar, like
Starfire, like there are very specific, and I feel like it's very easy to point at those
there are many like
yeah.
I'm going to use myself as an example because why the hell not? I will not cosplay as Storm.
Yeah.
I would love to do a gender bent version of Storm, but I always feel like there's so much stigma behind dressing up as someone that I would consider a physical representation of African American culture.
Oh, that's interesting.
I mean, I usually tote around saying, like, if I was to cosplay any character from Hercules, it would be, I'm trying to think of her name, or Clytemnestra. I know it was one, like the leader of the Muses.
Oh, yes. I can't remember her first name. Yes, I would love to, too. I wanted to be nothing more than a muse when I was a kid.
Exactly. Like, I mean, who wouldn't?
I know. They were so fabulous and wonderful, and their voices. Oh, my gosh.
But one of the things that I always find interesting is when people change their skin color at all. Like, there are times when I, as Ursula, I'm like changing my skin color to like light gray, and I'm like, I really don't offend anybody that's the color of this, light blue.
Exactly.
Because we always, I don't want to call it treading on eggshells, but it's always this idea that you always will have the potential to offend somebody. Yeah. It all depends on the way that you do it. What's going on in the comics?
Oh, if you need
to the comments.
Within the comics.
Within the comics.
Of Catt Kristen. Let's see. Even with Starfire, some people think you're Hispanic facing. Oh, that's really interesting. I didn't know that. I didn't know that at all.
If you need to change the color of your skin in order for people to understand who you're cosplaying, that's not who you should be cosplaying.
Yeah.
How apropos.
No, that's a very eloquent way of putting it, because it's, there are so many other things you can do to embody a character, and
there was, I think, one good example, and I hate that I'm going to use this. For Halloween, Ellen DeGeneres dressed up as Nicki Minaj, but she didn't once change
the color of
her skin.
Yes, that is a very good example.
And I think people have it in them that changing skin color is the right way to do a cosplay.
Like it's gonna up the level of your cosplay.
Exactly. And I understand that people take great offense in being called out on this.
Yeah.
But it's so difficult to actually put into words.
Yes, it is.
Because you honestly don't know who you're going to offend by doing this, basically.
My whole pattern of thought, I think, with it is like, I would rather not offend anybody.
Exactly.
That's my whole thing. Is like, I'm not going to go like leagues out of my way to make sure that every single person in the world is not offended by what I'm doing. But if I think that there's a good chance that there are going to be a handful of people that are really going to take personal offense to something I'm doing for a legitimate reason, like, then I think that's something you take into account.
And this also brings up another interesting point. There was a friend of mine.
Yeah.
Excuse me. Who cosplayed as that one character from Overwatch. Why can't I think of her name?
Diva? Tracer? May?
I'm trying to no, she was a darker skinned individual.
Oh, Anna or Farah? There's Anna, there's Farah, you've gotten into my ballpark here.
Good, I'm glad because I have no idea.
Because that's actually really interesting because I've thought about, I really want to cosplay Farah in the future, but I don't want anybody to ever think that I'm trying to be a background that I'm not, which is like a whole other thing.
But I mean, the point of the matter is, this person that cosplayed this character is of Hispanic descent and has. She
was probably Anna. I think Anna is, or Sombra.
Sombra, and the fighter.
See, I'm literally mixing up now the genetic backgrounds of the Overwatch characters, which is like so slightly worse. But they have such a diverse cast, which is
they do. Oh,
they do, which is really wonderful. No, Sombra's an awesome character. Sombra is so cool.
One of the things, before I even discuss what I want to cosplay as from Overwatch. This person cosplayed as Sombra, and she caught so much hell for darkening her skin tone just a little bit. But the thing was, it was just her regular foundation.
That's her regular foundation.
That's her regular foundation.
See, and this is where it's sketchy territory.
It's very, very sketchy territory, and I'm glad that we are talking about this because it does need to be brought more into light. If your goal is to I really don't want to say this, but if your goal is to offend somebody and poke the bear, what?
I just don't believe that conventions are the place for that.
Conventions are not the place.
Conventions are supposed to be a place where everyone is welcome and feels comfortable and is allowed to be who they are in their own skin. And I feel like,
pun intended.
Yeah, and it's. I think that's the real issue that I have with it is like if you want to try and offend people online or try and whatever, I'm not really in support of that, but whatever, you do you.
Oh, the trolls. Where would we be without internet trolls?
Yeah.
Where would we be without internet trolls?
I just feel like it makes someone feel less safe and less accepted and less understood in that space.
Agreed.
And that's what really bothers me. Like that is what truly like why I will always go the extra step to make sure that like I'm not doing anything that somebody's going to be like, whoa. And I think there are polite ways to tell people too, like, hey, I don't think you realize what you're doing, but because nobody is perfect, we're all going to make mistakes. Like, but I think that that's a very easy mistake to rectify, you know?
I think it also stands to reason that when people get into cosplay, they only think about like, oh, I'm going to be cosplaying as this character. I'm really excited to cosplay as this character. I'm really like getting myself ready for it.
Right.
And then it's when it comes to the makeup, it's just like, just use your regular alabaster foundation and go have a good time.
Yeah.
My personal favorite is when we have these oh my god, I can't even think straight. But then again, could I ever really? Any hoozle, when these internet pages, when the internet pages will like take their Instagrams and take their Twitters and take their whatevers and just publicize them, as if to give them credit for doing something so heinous and so horrible. And I really don't understand why that's a thing that has to happen at all. If somebody is doing something offensive, they need to be talked to. They don't need to be publicized.
There's also a very good chance. There is a chance that they weren't that they're doing it there. They did it out of ignorance. That they just didn't know. They didn't know. They didn't realize. And that,
or on the other tentacle, they're doing it to get attention and get get a bigger following because and get more notoriety.
Yeah.
And it really, what's happening?
Oh, I didn't even realize. Sorry. Literally like 4 people were like, Sombra!
It's Sombra, damn it!
The comments, that's like one of those moments where you're listening with your headphones and you're like, God damn it! Like, I'll be listening to podcasts sometimes and they'll start talking about Harry Potter and like I just know most things about Harry Potter. And so and they'll be like talking about something like Quidditch and they'll be like, what's that thing they chase after? And I'm like, Golden Snitch! Golden Snitch! And it's like that's not something appropriate to be yelling.
Okay, let's see what's going on.
Yeah, let's see.
My darling Chad said, as a drag performer, I'll use a tanner shade of foundation to offset my bronze. But again, you're not putting on another nationality. You're not trying to be another ethnicity.
Yeah.
That's because as a drag queen myself, I will sometimes use like a darker foundation to sort of blend into everything, because you put on the darker foundation, then you put on the highlighter, then you put on the contouring, and oh my God almighty, one day I'll do a fucking makeup tutorial.
I know you really should. You should do a makeup tutorial.
But I mean, I get it that there are times where it can be misconstrued.
Yes.
And I think we need to just sort of educate ourselves and put more of a light on this subject, because so many people, like I've seen the articles, I've seen people just still go at it and still make it about, oh well, I'm trying to be as accurate as I can to the character, and that
it's just
in certain countries this isn't as frowned upon as it is in the United States.
Yeah.
I don't care.
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
If your skin tone
is the culture here. It's a part of our culture.
Yes.
It is a part of our history. There is, maybe you don't know, and again, Tom and I both have theater backgrounds. So we also both have theater history backgrounds. And so maybe we do know more about blackface than the average person does. And that's fine. But not being willing to then open up to understanding why it is a culturally sensitive thing.
Insensitive
thing to do, really.
I want to see if I can put this into words that a lot of people would understand. Years ago, the Tex Avery cartoons and the Bugs Bunny cartoons and the Daffy Duck cartoons, they always, well, not always, but some of the things that they would touch upon were those aspects where Bugs Bunny or the Bulldog from the Droopy cartoons would be put into these like mammy-ish type of situations.
Yeah.
And it's not that extreme, but it's to a point where it's still a topic of conversation and needs a focus.
Yes. Yeah. I like this comment. Well, there are a couple comments I really like. First, I know someone who gets threats for darkening her skin when she's naturally tan.
Yes.
Yeah. And
that's a problem.
That's a problem. Like, that is a problem. You know, it's I don't think that we should be on a witch hunt for people either. I don't think we should be on a witch hunt for waiting for someone to fuck up with it, you know? I think if you're going to call someone out on it, you probably should do a second of research and make sure that isn't their actual ethnicity or actual skin color and skin tone. I think I definitely agree with this person also. Anyone trying to poke the bear is pathetic in my eyes. First rule of life, don't be a dick. I think poking the bear just to be like insensitive to somebody, and that's a whole other conversation, to be honest, but I don't disagree with you. I think there's a difference between pushing the envelope and being really insensitive. Being really insensitive.
No, it's the truth.
Also, Billy says, in the same respect, what the hell were parents raising over kids dressing up as Moana for Halloween?
Okay. To those that don't know, Moana is a new Disney princess and is of Hawaiian ancestry.
Yes.
I think a lot of when you have a culture so steeped in history as Hawaiian ancestry, and you see a person putting on, I don't want to touch upon Moana. I'll get to Moana in just a moment.
Yeah, go for it.
But there were some parents that were really, really, really upset about oh God, what was the Rock's character?
Maui,
thank you. Maui. How they had that for sale. How they had that skin. How they had that available to the people, and that takes guff to make.
Yeah.
Like, that takes a lot of chutzpah, because that's not only part of a person's heritage.
Yeah.
That's tattoos.
Yeah. And the problem also with the tattoos too was that they had a dark skin sleeve.
Yes.
Underneath it that was like mesh, but very dark, meant to like considerably tan.
It was meant to change a person's skin tone.
Yes.
And I think that that's a problem. And I think I understand where Billy's coming from, because these parents that would want to dress their child up as Moana, they weren't planning on darkening her skin. Unless they were, then that's up for debate. But I don't think that they were intending on changing her skin tone, just putting her in a Disney princess costume.
Yeah. And I actually think little kids dressing up as Moana for Halloween is amazing.
I've seen Tiana's another example.
Yeah, Tiana's another example, because I think that is making little kids, that means are seeing something in a princess that's of a different ethnicity than they are, that they relate to. And I think that's wonderful. That's great. That is teaching kids from a young age that everybody is the same. Everybody's the same. Everybody has amazing qualities, and that you shouldn't be looking at skin color.
Yes.
You know, I think that's amazing.
But the problem is people
take it too far.
Look at the skin tone. They're going to look at the skin color.
So Chad says, and then I want to go to Evie's comment, but Chad says, but how do you justify that? Why is it different for me to use a darker shade of foundation that isn't my normal color versus someone who darkens their skin for a character for the means of cosplay portrayal? There's a bit of some blurred lines here.
And that's the issue. That's the issue that a lot of people are seeing when it comes to these arguments. And I mean, rather than rather than actually discuss it and have normal conversations, a lot of people will just go off and attack people.
Yes, that is very true.
So that's why I'm glad that we're having this conversation, be it in the chat or what have you.
Yeah.
I mean the chat, the comments.
Yeah.
Or what have you. But there are those blurred lines. There is that sense of confusion where it's just like, when is it offensive and when isn't it offensive?
I think, but Chad, if I'm remembering correctly, you said, though, that you use a tanner shade of foundation to offset your bronzer. It doesn't sound like you're trying, and I agree that there are blurred lines, because even as I'm saying it, you can see that there's like some discrepancy.
Yes.
But you're not you're changing it to offset the color of your bronzer. You're not ultimately changing your entire body color and or trying to take on a different ethnicity. I think that there is something in intent behind that makes that means that there's a difference. Also, I don't know if you're changing something to offset, then I mean, do you look at the end of it like you are a different ethnicity, or do you look like you just put on a little bit of a different foundation? You know, does that make sense?
It does. No. It does. It's just like I say. It's a hard topic.
That's why we want to talk about it.
It's a hard topic to discuss.
Also, were we using the wrong terminology? Gemma said Pacific Islander.
Pacific Islander, yes.
Pacific Islander. Okay.
One of my friends, Canvas Cosplay. He's of South Pacific. I think South Pacific Islander ethnicity, and when he was cosplaying as Maui, he made his bodysuit and he painted on, with the help of animators, illustrators, in the movies. He made this gorgeous Maui cosplay, and people were so thrilled that there was this person who was looking at their heritage and looking to their ancestry and their background, and creating this beautiful piece. And I mean, if a white person did that, would it be offensive?
Yeah,
that's a damn good question.
Because and I think the big thing too is that what we're saying is, you know, and I don't think that people, again, that do this are malicious people. I don't think, for the most part, I think that a lot of people do it and they don't realize what they're doing and I don't think that they are bad people for doing it. I don't think that they're whatever. I think if
unless there's malicious intent.
Yeah.
But
it's a tough topic, and we appreciate you guys talking with us about it, because we have to talk through it, and what you're posing are real questions.
Yes,
they are real questions.
These are real questions that have been asked.
And I do wish that we had another person here that could offer a diverse in the future when we have somebody of a different ethnicity on who would like to speak on it. That would be amazing.
It would. It would be wonderful if we had something like that. What is happening?
Yeah, Gemma says, how I feel with this topic. Just do the research and don't half-ass history.
It's the truth.
Yeah.
It's the truth.
Oh, I was going to say, this was the question from Evie that I wanted to talk about. She said, what do you guys think of gender bends? This is becoming a sensitive topic too. I mean, I love gender bends.
This is coming directly from my throat right now.
Coming right for you. I'm coming right for you. I'm almost tempted to be like, we should talk about this on a fuller episode. But you want to give some like quick thoughts on it? Because that would be a great episode to have to fully talk about, especially because almost all of your cosplays have been gender bends. Yeah.
When it comes to gender bends, I personally do it because I'm of the mind that anybody can be anything they want to be in this community.
Yes.
As long as there's no malicious intent.
Yes.
If I'm going to gender bend Catwoman and just walk around and just be this caricature, and not like understand the character better. Like that's one of the reasons why I do gender bends at all. It's because I have a deep appreciation for the characters and connection to the characters that I'm cosplaying as. And I feel that as long as, again, I hate repeating myself, but as long as there's no malicious intent, like, how do I go about this? Like, for instance, years ago, I saw a costume that was a Lady of the Evening costume, and it was this gentleman with enormous breasts and like short skirts and looking like a painted hussy, and it was a costume for sale.
Yeah.
That's malicious intent.
Yeah.
That's putting on a caricature.
Yeah.
And I think that again, as long as no malicious intent is happening, then. Like Gemma said, do the research and try not to mess with the history. Don't half-ass the history.
Yeah,
of it.
Yeah, I agree. Definitely.
What's happening?
Can you clear
the definitions of crossplay? Oh, okay.
Crossplay versus gender bend. Yeah.
Crossplay is drag.
Yes.
Basically.
Yeah.
So if Kristen were ever to cosplay as Harry Potter, that's
very real possibility.
That's cross-playing. When I dress up as Ursula or the Wicked Queen or any type of Disney villain like Cruella, it's cross-play. It's drag.
Yeah.
With gender bending, it's taking the character and bending the gender.
Princess Chris's cosplays would be gender bends?
Yeah.
Or would they be crossplays?
They would be crossplays. Oh, that's a good question, Chris.
Chris, get here, Chris. No, because when I think of like two people. When I think of like
no. That would be gender bending. That would be gender.
Would it be gender bending?
It would be gender bending. It would be the same as you taking Harry Potter and doing Harriet Potter.
Right? Yes. Okay.
That would be more in the term. That would be more in the vein of crossplay. Actually, It was hysterical. Samia, my darling Samia Celine. She did a picture. She took a picture of me and Bye Bye Birdie Cosplay, who was dressed up as a gender bend version of Sakura, and I was dressed up as Edna Turnblad. And underneath it read the caption, "This is crossplay and this is gender bend," with Sakura being the gender bend and me as Edna Turnblad being the crossplay. So I think that is education is fun, kids.
It's great.
I hope that answers the question here.
I remember seeing a lot of people upset about gender bends of trans characters like Damien and Dream Daddy. Thoughts?
Oh wow.
That's an intense question.
That's a very intense question.
Because that is something that wonderfully is going to come up more often because it's amazing that more trans characters
more trans characters are being brought to the fold. I love that so much.
And I think it's amazing that people of either gender want to cosplay as that trans character. That's amazing. Yeah, that's an intense one.
Because I hate
malicious intent.
As long as there's no malicious intent.
Yeah.
And when it comes to darkening one's skin tone.
Yeah.
I personally find that to be because again, we as theater folk know the background behind it. I'm not excusing it by any stretch of the imagination.
No,
and I think that people need to understand that history a little bit better in order for them to
and not take it as such a personal attack when you get called out for it.
Exactly, because it's not an attack. It's just we want people to be a little bit more educated on the subject.
And when you are telling somebody, about it, not to attack them. Don't immediately assume that they have malicious intent, because that is something I think that...
The message that we've been trying to bring home since the beginning is be kind. Be kind.
Don't call people out on their bullshit, but call them out on it. Like, don't immediately be like, hey, you did this thing wrong. Be like, hey, I don't think you realize, I don't know if you know what you just did here, but this is offensive because of A, B, and C. And then if they come at you, then you get the claws out, you know? That's the long and the short of it. Well, so much for fake gamers. Woo! You didn't talk about the fake gamers. That's okay. That's okay. We'll talk about that next week. And then we should do a full episode on gender bend.
Cover of Playboy is next
for you, Tom. Yeah, and everybody was saying that I think Princess Chris's cosplays would be gender bend. We should make I'll try and make a little graphic of some examples.
People ask that question I'll take a picture of me as Catwoman or Poison Ivy or Harley Quinn, and I'll say, this is a gender bend.
Right.
And then I'll do pictures of me as Ursula the Wicked Queen or Cruella and say, this is crossplay.
Right. Like one of my dearest friends, Christy Lynn, she literally goes by Miss Lady Crossplay.
I love her.
Yeah, she's amazing. Oh, she's such a doll. I want her so badly to come on for an episode about this, because she and I have had some of the best conversations about the cosplay community that I've ever had with anybody. Yes. So her entire thing is that, like, I don't think I've ever seen her cosplay a female character before. Like, I've seen it maybe once or twice in her Pokebombs and whatnot. She constantly is crossplaying. It's because she identifies as a woman. She dresses up as the characters, but in drag. She doesn't try to keep her gender with the character. She's just a woman dressing up as the male character. Like, she's completely embodying the male characters that she does. And I think that's like really the difference between that's the big difference between them. Yeah, it's a lot. It's a lot to keep your mind wrapped around. No, that's what that is, and that's what that is.
But it's all about education and becoming less I don't want to say ignorant, but less ignorant on the subject and what you intend on doing.
Yeah.
That's all I got to say on the matter.
It's true.
If your main goal with a cosplay is to offend somebody, don't do that.
Get out. That's not what this community is about. It's just not what this community and what this atmosphere is about, and I don't think it's the place for it. I don't know that there necessarily is a place for it, but that's a different topic. I don't know.
That's a dangerous topic.
It's a dangerous topic. I like, though, Catt said a couple times in here, how about we make this new word gender play? And I think that is, I think the terminology, I don't know if gender bend necessarily is a bad term. But gender play, I think, does actually it plays it out a little bit more,
because again, it
makes you think about what you're doing.
It's combining gender bending and cosplay. So rather than call it gender bending, which years ago used to be a pretty offensive term in the gay community.
Was it offensive? I didn't know that, really.
For drag queens and for transgender people, gender bending was what
really
the term was used.
Oh, that's interesting. I didn't know that. See, learning. This is why this is important. Just learning.
But I feel that gender play does an interesting. It's an interesting term. Where did you hear that, Kat? I'm curious.
It's more inclusive, in my opinion. That's true.
Okay.
You don't get to decide if you've offended someone, so just be careful. That's a great. Will is saying some good stuff. Will's saying some good stuff in these comments.
That is very true.
Yeah, it's I'm just gonna keep dropping knowledge, is what Will says. And then Kat just made it up. Kat's just a genius. Here we are. Kat's like, I got a brilliant idea, guys.
I got it, kids. I got it.
I'm on it.
Hold the beer.
Yeah, exactly. Quickly, hold the beer. What's it called? Yeah, thank you guys so much for talking to us through this chat, because I think this is a really important one to have.
Thank you. Thank you guys so much for like imparting your wisdom, imparting knowledge,
and asking questions. Also, like, that's the most important thing too.
Don't be afraid to ask questions.
I really appreciated when Chad was like, "Yes, but that's kind of blurry territory," because you're like, "Yes, that's totally true," and that's where we also can only come at this from our experience.
We can only come at this from our angle, which is what we've seen personally in the community.
Yeah.
Like, there are times when I'll see a pasty white girl from Holland putting on like a darker shade of foundation and just being like, here I am, this is my cosplay, and catching hell for it. Did she mean any harm? No.
Not necessarily.
But the problem was there are a lot of people out there that can take offense to that.
Yeah.
And are we sensitive as a nation? To a certain extent.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I think as long as people educate themselves and as long as people are able to say with confidence that this is who I am and this is where I'm at, we can, I don't want to say give them the benefit of the doubt, but basically say, okay, I appreciate that, but here's where the problem falls.
Yes, absolutely.
So I think as long as people are willing to have conversations like this and talk about it and discuss it and be able to listen to another person's ideas, then we'll be a much better place and we'll be much better for it.
Yeah, and we shouldn't be afraid to have these sorts of conversations. Oh, I'd like to ask a question, but I froze the feed last time. Arsenio, how dare you? Ask your question, Arsenio. I want to know. Will you show me?
That one girl from Russia does blackface a lot.
See, and my big problem is that when people are then told the reasons why it's offensive and they continue to do it, I think then that's
an issue. Because it's like, you've been called out on it. Why continue to do it? Why continue to poke the damn bear?
There's never been an instance in which I've ever seen somebody and been like, wow, if they had just had the right skin tone for that, or if they had just darkened their skin for that, they would have looked so much better in that cosplay. Never have I had that question. Never had I had that thought. Like, your cosplay should be able to speak for itself without you changing the color of your skin. Yeah.
That's right.
Let's see. Oh, I know who you're talking about. See, I don't know who you're talking about. I just see people. I see people every once in a while. I'm sure I would recognize, but different cultures, I suppose. And that is true. There are some people will point out that in like Europe and whatnot, it doesn't have as extensive a history as it does in the United States. But that doesn't necessarily mean that it's not.
I think social media has made it sort of interesting to cosplay in other countries, because
very much so.
What's okay in one country isn't what's okay in this country, and I think being able to have social media as this platform for people has made it sort of interesting, because in and of itself, social media is essentially its own country.
Yes. Yeah.
Because it unifies a lot of people. It's made up of its own rules.
Yep.
And there's just so many people.
Yeah.
And I remember seeing the meme like a couple of months ago. It circulates every year. It's like, all right, this year's 2017. Let's see who we can offend this year. And it's just it's frustrating to constantly have to, like, not exactly keep your guard up, but
yeah. I just don't understand. I just don't quite understand
why people can't take the time to educate themselves.
Yeah, I just
rather
don't
than be offended by it.
Like, I'm not offended by everything. I'm not. I like to consider myself like respectful of people that it might offend.
Yes.
But I also don't consider myself to be, I'm not somebody that's going to jump down your throat for political correctness every second of every day. You know, I like to consider myself in that happy medium. And so it's hard, because I definitely, though, will jump to the defense of people that are offended, because that's a valid feeling. You know, it's a valid feeling that might have history behind it, like the blackface stuff. And it's just, it's frustrating. And I agree with you, Evie. I also am afraid of cosplaying certain characters because I'm pasty and whatnot. And
we've both been there. We've both
absolutely.
been there. And you know, I'm so thankful that the cosplay community has emboldened people to say, I can cosplay as this character, because I've seen white people cosplay as Princess Diana.
Oh, absolutely.
I've seen white people cosplay as Storm. I've seen white people cosplay as the muses from Hercules. Yes. I've seen people do that,
and vice versa. I've seen people of other ethnicities cosplaying as Caucasian or whatever, you know, characters as well. And some of those cosplays have been my favorite of that character.
Yes.
Oh my gosh. So it's, you know, there's just no reason for it, because we're a lazy nation that doesn't give a damn. It's a whole other podcast. Oh my god, it's a whole other. That's
a bag of worms.
That is a big old can of worms. It's waiting to pop out at get you. But yeah, that's a lot, though. We talked about this for 40 minutes.
Yeah,
we didn't think we'd be able to talk about this.
We didn't think we'd be able to talk about this. But again, it's a subject that I feel more people need to educate
and
themselves
to take the
on.
time
to take the time to educate themselves on it. The long and the short of it is, if you're going to cosplay a darker skin character or even a lighter skin character, do the research.
Yeah.
Do the research. Look into just educate yourselves. The internet is a beautiful plethora of information. Go take a dip. Yes. The water's fine.
Go take a dip. Dive right in. Woo!
Oh my goodness gracious.
Yes.
If you have any other questions for us, please do not feel like we are going to
jump down your
throats, because
not our goal here.
We're all about talking. Yeah. We're all about that's the reason why we did this in the first place. Completely. Because we're trying to make the conversations happen more frequently.
Yeah, definitely.
And to just shine a spotlight on these different types of things that are affecting our community.
Yeah. And it's hard, especially around this time of year, with a topic like Blackface, because of Halloween. It's something that comes up every year. And so we wanted to talk about it because I feel like every year, from people, and also people outside of the cosplay community, for sure, just people celebrating Halloween, which is a lot of people, they'll be like, well, what's really the big deal?
People dressing up in Indian costume, in Native American costumes.
Oh, there's so much cultural appropriation everywhere.
My Lord and Taylor.
Everywhere. And I think it's a topic that's worth discussing. And I don't want anybody to ever feel stupid to ask the question, well, why is that offensive? Because asking that question means that you are taking the time to learn why it is offensive.
You're taking the time to educate yourself.
And I think that's a great thing. I think that's something we should be promoting more than jumping down people's throats.
Absolutely.
I think we should be instead being asking questions of why is that offensive? Please explain it to me. That's it.
I think again, if people just took the time to ask those questions and to become more learned, on
more educated,
we'd be better for it, because
Tom's dying.
Excuse me. I'm knocking on heaven.
It's happening. Do you feel that breeze? It's the cold hands of death coming in.
Every year, the nerd on nerd hate
is real. Nerd on nerd hate.
Oh, the nerd on nerd hate is again. It's all because people are they're so set in their ways.
I was going to say the exact same thing.
They're so set in their ways and their opinions on the matter. And I'm we've seen the posts everywhere. Just because you have an opinion doesn't mean you get to shove it in people's faces.
Yes. Yeah.
And it doesn't mean that opinion is correct.
It's true. Arsenio says education is the #1 most important thing. Yeah, agreed.
Bingo.
Agreed. Thank you for not breaking our stream this time, Arsenio. A full minute last time, Arsenio.
A full
minute. Just because you. Kidding. I've met Arsenio once, and he's going to be like, I hate this girl. He's going to be like, who is this girl?
Never. He would never.
This?
Oh my goodness.
Don't jinx it. That's it. All right. Okay.
We're at 43 minutes.
Yeah, we're at 43 minutes. We're going to wrap it up.
We're wrapping up.
If you want to give this podcast some love. Oh, this is really exciting. We should say this.
Yes. Thank you.
So if you want to give this podcast some love, please go over and like our Facebook page, Catt and Kristen. It's in actually the description of this video right now. You can click right through, or facebook.com/Catt, CATT, and Kristen. Because next week
we're going to be broadcasting live from that page.
We're making the leap.
We're making the leap of faith.
And we would super appreciate
it if you guys just liked the page,
shared it if you have been enjoying this.
Spread it around.
Because this has been so fun, and we've been so enjoying the feedback from you guys.
Yes.
This has been this has been great. We've been doing this for 1 month now.
And we have been.
This is great. This is so good.
If we can continue to keep the momentum up, and yes, I know how easy it is for people to just find it on my page and watch it through there.
Yeah.
Just make it the switch. Make it the switch.
Make it the switch and share it with your friends. And share it with all of the friends.
Share it with everybody. Spread it around.
Spread it to all of your cosplay friends. Put it on that Insta story. Do it. I'm like getting real. I'm like, open up your phone. Now log in. Now
just do it now.
Just go to the app. You open that up. Then you go to that Instagram story. You tap that color. You hold that color. And it makes your screen that color. Then you go to Facebook. Everyone's leaving. Everyone's like, who the hell is this chick? I'm done now.
God.
Thank you guys so much.
Thank you guys for watching. We will see you next week.
Bye.
Ciao meow for now, guys.